Peace and magic to all the gods and the goddesses tuned in. Welcome to Word Origins with Lucifer, part 17. And this part is going to be entitled Trails. Just gonna leave it at that, trails. So pretty much what this video gonna be talking about is exposing how America is controlled through money and banks. Because a lot of people don't know, like, where does money come from? Like, how do the banks control America? And it's like, it's a lot of levels to this shit. It's really a lot of levels to this shit. So we gonna jump into this right away or whatever. So we gonna start this word origin off properly by asking ourselves, what is illusions? What is illusions? Take a second and process it in your head on what you think illusions is. I give you 5 seconds to process that shit or whatever. I give you 5 seconds to process. Okay, so the word origin of illusions means against, play, to mock, deceiving, or deception. Yes, that's what they doing to y'all. That's what these illish people are doing to y'all. And we finna get into it. I'm gonna explain it on the level that y'all understand this shit. And we actually gonna have numbers and all that shit presented or whatnot in this video. So pretty much let's start this off with talking about globalist bankers. So pretty much globalist bankers are banks. So it's like you got Bank of America, Chase Banks, and all these other banks and whatnot, these big time known banks or whatever. So banks currently rule the governments of all the world or whatever, and their puppet strings is money and astrology. And yes, Word Origins Part 18 is going to be Part 2 or Episode 2. That next episode is going to be about astrology. But right now, we're focusing on the money part, the money aspect of how they control society. And they do this by money laundering, black markets, and crypto. And that's another reason why like crypto and all that shit is not sustainable, because crypto literally means hidden. So if everybody know about it, then how is it hidden at this point? It's not really a crypto. It's not hidden anymore. That's the word origin of crypto. And it's like when I do word origins with words or whatever, I'm a radical. So it's like I'm not gonna stand in between the line of some shit. It's like if something means something, then if I see that it's not that, then it's not that. It's definitely not that. That's like labeling something red, but it's really orange if you're thinking about it. So why the fuck would I call it red orange, but it's really red? Like, just think. This the thing. Like, I just want people to start thinking more and asking themselves questions more. That's the reason why I started this journey, because I started asking myself more questions or whatever. So it's like pretty much these globalist bankers, they create imaginary currency and know how to hide things from the public view. They do this hiding through distractions of entertainment and controlling of mass emotions of society. Like literally the word politician is like mean entertainer. That's literally what politician means. It's just like somebody that's just there for entertainment wise. And it's like you'll understand what I mean as we get deeper into this or whatever. Because America is definitely ruled by the banks, corporations, under maritime law. Maritime law, as we stated in previous word origins, is draconian law. And the draconians are some fucked up people, which is today known as the Jewish people. We can't put the J in front of it, because we put the J in front of it, they just gonna pull this video down and everything else that we do that we talk about with them in it, because they're trying to stay hidden. And how they control like all this shit is like pretty much they put shit in front of your face, but they dumb people down so much that people don't realize like a lot of shit is like in front of their face. They don't realize that shit or whatever. So pretty much they do this shit under maritime law, which is like current money, currencies, and all that shit. Like people do shit to get paid or whatnot. Like I feel like this. I feel like this. I believe in universal pay, and I don't believe in celebrity worship. I don't believe nobody is better than the other one, and I don't believe nobody should make more than the other individual. Because it's like we all provide crucial roles to society. And that's what society as a whole is not realizing. Instead, society as a whole is just fighting like crabs in a barrel. In a capitalist society, capitalism is meant to divide and compete. It's meant to divide people and make us compete against each other. So it's like we too busy focused on competition with each other or whatever, and people put success and money in the same category. Like people just be like, you're not successful without money. Like they determine your success by how much money you have, which is very invalid. It's very invalid. Like to me, success is pure intent. Like if you got pure intent in life and you know how to navigate through this shit or whatever, and don't let people take advantage of you, to me, you're successful. If you're not depressed and you constantly know how to keep your energy raised or whatever, and understand the chaos in life and all that shit, then you understand what I'm talking about or whatever. So it's like they use these maritime laws in the American government and they just constantly change laws and rules for how the banks see that is beneficial towards them. America is like slick as hell with this shit though. They are like very slick. They do this under the guise of capitalism. So again, while they out here fucking the whole world over, they got y'all fucking each other over with capitalism by having competition with each other. Like the whole McDonald's story, the Ray Kroc story, that story is fucked up because pretty much he just took two brothers who actually put their heart and soul into this business and he just came and took that shit from under them. Like that's fucked up. It's fucked up as hell. That's like one of the best examples of capitalism in America, like just getting fucked over and butt raped. All for all for money. We fucking each other over for money. For money. Like let's think about that shit. Money. Money make people do fucked up shit, regardless if you got it or if you don't. Money is the root to all evil. I'm telling you, it is. And it's like capitalism divides a country's population and it makes them become more immoral in the hopes of gaining money. They pretty much have American citizens fighting like crabs in a barrel, like we previously stated. Like today, February 14th, and I just set up and watched it. I didn't watch the whole thing. I tried to watch some of it, but it was like bothering me of seeing like all these wealthy people, because pretty much everybody in that motherfucker was wealthy. So if you had a ticket to the Super Bowl, those tickets ain't cheap as fuck. You gotta be wealthy as hell in order to be in that seat, like wealthy monetary wise, like physical currency and all that shit. You either was wealthy or a celebrity. Those was all the people that was at that game. So it's like now I'm sitting there thinking about like y'all pretty much having a game or a party for all these rich people to come, and it's like so much wasted resources went into the Super Bowl. Like I don't have the numbers for how much money goes into the Super Bowl and how much they profit off of, but if companies paying $3 million for a 30-second commercial, and it's like the game is like damn near 3-4 hours long, and they constantly doing commercial breaks with like 6-5 commercials in each commercial break. That's like y'all do the numbers to that shit. Like it's just crazy. Then it's like they had it in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles has one of the highest homeless rates in America. Like that shit is beyond me. And that just shows you how selfish these people are. It just shows how selfish these people are. Like the shit is fucking crazy or whatever. And it's like the first step in all this or whatever is like political power. And it's like pretty much let's explain the political scene and how a politician becomes a politician. So from a politician can get the seat in office or whatever or retain their seat, whatever. Politicians need donations and fundraisers for their campaigns. Okay? Y'all with me, right? So they need donations and fundraisers for the campaigns. They can't use their own money. Is pretty much what they saying. So pretty much it's like off bat, politicians need donations and fundraisers for campaigns. So these people are pretty much just making behind the scenes deals with each other. Like say for instance, I own a cigarette company and I use this analogy all the time because it's the easiest one to say. I can get deeper with it, but this is the easy one where everybody understands. Say for instance, I own a cigarette company or whatever, and cigarettes is outlawed in America or whatnot. But it's like, okay, peep this. If I donate to your foundation or whatever, then you gonna like attempt to put in the work to try to make cigarettes legal, so I could benefit off of it. And that's what I mean by backdoor deals. That's what these donators and foundations and fundraisers and campaigns and all this shit come from or whatever. This is like people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg come into play or whatever. And it's like even then, this is just like American people or whatever. We not even talking about the English people yet. We just talking about corporation owners in America, the ones who pretty much are like in the what is that? The electoral college. So a lot of people don't even ask the questions of who are the members in the electoral college that actually select the president. Because y'all votes definitely don't select the president. It's the electoral college or whatever. So those few names I just named are American corporation owners that do have a small say in what the fuck is going on, but they don't have the final say. They just publish just like everybody else. So if you're not in that global elitist bank, regardless of how rich you are, if you're not in that small circle, then you like a Jeff Bezos, a Elon Musk, and a Mark Zuckerberg. You just stuck in the middle. But it's like you benefiting off the puppet master. That's just the role that they play. Okay, and this is only speaking on American corporate owners at this point. America is mysteriously, it's America is just like mysterious as fuck in a lot of ways that it works, and it's like a lot of people don't want to answer those questions. Like the main question people don't want to ask, like, where the fuck do all the tax money go to? Like where the fuck does all tax money go to? Where the fuck does all debt go to? All debt pretty much goes to banks. That's how banks operate, by loans and debt. That's that's how they operate. That's how they stay open and stay sustainable, even though they could just print money whenever the fuck they feel like it. But it's like if they just constantly keep printing money, then it's like money is like ineffective to a certain extent. So it's like they put this illusion ass process into place or whatever. I call it a Ponzi scheme because that's all it is. Like debt and loans and all that shit is just a Ponzi scheme. It really is. Because think about it like this: if money is imaginary and is just created out of thin air, then how can you be in debt into something that's, if you think about it, limitless? Like there's no end to numbers or money if they can print that shit willingly when they want to. Think about that for a second. Just think about that for a second. So like now it's like America is like mysterious as fuck, and it's just like the one thing that stands out most to me is like once I started doing research into like what all the tax money and all the debt and loans and all that shit go to, and it's just pointing at Israel. Like everything I pulled up is literally pointing at Israel. And it's like I'm finna give y'all some numbers, and these numbers go from 1949 to like 1997. So these numbers stopped at about 25 years ago. So keep that in mind when I read these numbers off to about Israel and how Israel controlled the political scene with banks, lobbyist parties, and all that shit. Is this shit just crazy as fuck? So pretty much a huge lump sum of money every year. This has been going on since 1949. A grand total of 84 billion has been given to Israel from 1949 to 1997. These are numbers from 25 years ago, so you can only imagine how much it is now. Like my estimate is like that shit got to be in the trillions at this point for it to be 25 years ago. It's got to be like damn near close to the trillions at this point. The grand total, as you can imagine, is much higher with 1997 being 25 years ago. Now the taxes America pays to Israel is even more absurd. America has paid in a grand total 134 billion in taxes from 1949 to 1997. That shit is fucking crazy. And it's crazy, and it's just like a lot of people don't know this shit, like especially the public, like everyday working people don't know this shit because people be so stressed out trying to take care of their families and all that shit, which is like I understand that or whatever, but it's like we as a society be detrimental to ourselves because we ignore so much shit because our focus be on taking care of our families or whatever. But it's like we get so caught up in that, and then we start to realize like, what what price do we have to pay to take care of our family? And that's just me with pure intent asking that question, because like I say, I ask myself questions all the time. That's the only way you can get enhancement in life, or obtain knowledge or wisdom, is just to ask yourself questions. And pretty much like that information is just confirming that Israel controls the banking system in American banks. And they are really built off loans and debt. The money goes through a list of money laundering ways so the average individual can't track it. Israel only makes up roughly 0.001 of the world's population. 0.001 of the world's population Israel makes up. But yet they getting all this fucking money from America. If that's not saying that's some greedy ass shit to y'all, and that's not some manipulative shit, that's not some, let's go back to the word illusion, some deceitful shit, some very deceitful shit, some very, very deceitful shit. And it's like, the thing I want to ask the most, the question that really came up to me while I was doing this research is, when I do shit, like I keep saying this shit, I like to ask questions on everything that I'm doing, because it's like, if I'm doing something, I want to know how that shit works in and out. Like, I want to know the beginning and the end of it, regardless if it's got something to do with me or not. I want to know the beginning route and the end route. And it's like, people that do taxes don't never ask this question. They just do taxes. Like, it's like y'all just put yourselves inside of a box and just be like, well, I just do taxes. It ain't my job to figure out where that shit coming from and where that shit going. But it's like, people don't ask this question and don't realize like they contributing to that problem, because they don't care to know. And that's what I'm saying, like ignorance and all that shit. When people just put money first, it's just like they become blind and ignorant to their own self and their own ways. In their own ways or whatever. And then it's just like, I don't know what to tell y'all. If it ain't evident at this point how these people moving, they moving foul as fuck and they just trying to keep you a slave to this system, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. But we gonna keep continuing, because it's still some more juicy info if you ain't convinced at this point. So pretty much, Congress authorizes America's foreign aid total. The only members of Congress who even really know the full total are Jewish. Some smell foul. I don't know what it is, but if y'all don't smell that shit now, you just ain't gonna smell it at this point. Like, you just ain't gonna smell it. And it's like all these like Congress members who are Jewish have taken huge campaign donations that are set up by Israel's Washington D.C. lobby, the American. Then it's another one called Israel Public Affairs Committee, or both of these. The Congress members are paid to act, not talk. So they act and don't talk. The same goes for the President and the Secretary of State and the Foreign Aid Administrator. They all submit a budget for Israel, which Congress approves or increases, but it never cuts. They always approving it or increasing it, but it never gets cut. It never gets cut. It never gets cut. Like, if you do research on, like, I keep up with like economic weather and all that shit. Like, I'm very versatile in a lot of things that I do. I don't just have my hand on like one thing. I try to look at the whole chessboard, because that's all life is. It's just a chess game of understanding what the fuck is going on and understanding what's gonna happen as a result of all this shit. Because all life is just cause and effect. That's all it is. It's just cause and effect. That's all this shit is. It's just cause and effect. And it's like the rest of the countries the U.S. help allow access to military bases and other special needs in these countries. And the fucked up part about it, like these other countries that the United States help, they all developing nations that have suffered a hit due to to like natural disasters like floods, droughts, earthquake. And it's like Israel don't even fit that criteria of that shit. Israel, like the only Israel troubles came from when they pretty much like invaded land and like confiscated some land that wasn't even theirs. It wasn't even theirs in the first place or whatever. So it's like the Israel lobby in America is so strong. It has banned discussion. It has banned discussion like on a lot of shit or whatever, especially about like why they getting so much money from us on a yearly basis. They banned this shit from a national dialogue. Like all the lobby parties visit each member of Congress once or twice a year. This is 52 or more national Jewish lobby parties in America on behalf of Israel. And now y'all asking yourselves the question, why is it so many Israeli lobbyist parties in America? It's because pretty much they blackmailing like all these politicians or whatever. Like they blackmailing them. They blackmailing them. And it's like America finna get a rude awakening, especially when motherfuckers found out the last election was not real. You know, what I mean by not real, we gonna get into this. We definitely gonna get into that part or whatever. We got a couple of things to talk about, especially like entertainment wise as well. After we finish going over how the Jewish people control society, so it's like they have so many parties to hide. 52 parties or whatever. It's 52 different parties. So pretty much like all these different parties, they pretty much choose or they try to make a deal with the Congress member or whatever who they want to donate to. So it's like pretty much they do all this shit to hide their donations to campaigns because it's like when you donate to a political party, you can only donate so much or whatever because like when people like run for political offices and all that shit, you gotta pretty much give a contribution statement or a campaign statement. They have to prepare for the Federal Election Commission. But the ability to hide like so many donations in like 52 different parties kind of makes they just hiding that shit in plain view pretty much. Like I don't know how to say it. They pretty much just they write the laws so they know how to avoid the laws, if that makes sense. That's just pretty much what they do. They write the laws because they know how to avoid the shit. So pretty much it's like they had it in so many different parties that helps the process due to politicians having a hard money cap, which means one group can only donate a certain amount of money into any candidate's election campaign, as can the Israel Lobbyist Party, which is 52 of these parties. So it's like they do a good job at hiding this shit or whatever. They do an excellent job at hiding this shit from the public view because it's been going on for I can't even give you a year to date when this bullshit started, but it's been going on for a while. And it's like these Jewish people control like media outlets and all that shit. And it's like people don't realize like all these news stations like ABC News, Fox News, CNN, like all these news stations and media outlets are owned by Jewish people. And it's like the Jewish control goes so deep, like it goes so far back. People don't realize how far back it goes. Like even during supposedly slavery in America or whatnot, like the major plantations or whatever, it was owned by Jewish people, and like majority of those major plantations like evolved into huge corporations today. Like a lot of these plantations still exist. They just evolved into corporations or whatnot, like record labels, what else? You can keep going on and on for this, and it's like the most easiest one. The most easiest to the spot is like record labels and media outlets. Now you got all these artists out here complaining about their contracts or whatever, meaning that they just getting ass raped out of money. But it's like y'all signed this shit, so it's like don't try to sit up and complain about it. That was the choice you made, so hold yourself accountable for the mistake that you made. Like, don't nobody got time to hear about no rich motherfucker crying about a goddamn record deal or whatever. Like, that's the choice that y'all made. That's the choice that y'all made or whatever. And that's just like They control all the media outlets, so it's like they control what you constantly see and hear on a daily basis. So they push these artists out, these bullshit ass artists out that they want to or whatever, because they know they music, none of that shit don't contain no type of content that benefits your soul. If anything, a lot of this shit just subconsciously manipulates you to do dumb shit because majority of them talk about dumb shit. Majority of them talk about dumb shit, and it's like if they don't agree to it, some of them will try to fight back and not agree to it, and then all of a sudden end up with legal problems or somebody around them dead or some shit due to ritual sacrifices and all that shit. So it's like all these majority of these artists got handlers. They got handlers. Like it's just real as fuck. Like people don't want to admit that shit. It's just shady shit going around in the unseen world, and it's like just because people don't see it, they don't think it's existing or happening, or it's not their issue. But in reality, it's everybody issue and responsibility to step up and say something about it. It's everybody, because this shit affecting everybody. Literally, everybody is being affected by this shit. I don't care who you are and where you're from. You are being affected by this. And it even gets so deep, like it get back to the political scene, like they use astrology to manipulate people's feelings and events. Meaning they plan like false flag events or whatever just to play off that energy. Because if you know how to correctly use astrology, astrology is not made for individual aspects or relationship advice or whatever. Because it's like I'm a believer in this. You feel how you have the choice to feel how you want to feel. If you feel depressed, then that's the choice of you feeling depressed. If you feel happy, excited, and energized, that's because you made the choice to feel that way. And it's like all of us have every astrology aspect in us. We all have that astrology energy, that star energy. We all have different types of crystal energies in us, planet energies, animal spirit energies. It's just so much. It's like your energy pretty much is based on your choice. But a lot of people are not aware of this. And that's why a lot of people stay stagnant in their growth and development within themselves because they're not aware of like life is just perspective and you getting the ability to see through bullshit or whatever. Because if y'all think that the universe is just created bullshit just for you to suffer, then that's just your fucked up perspective. It's just your fucked up perspective or whatever. And it's like they control the media and all that shit, so it's like they put out what they want you to hear. And it's like I'm really finna get deep with this shit. And it's like a lot of people called Donald Trump crazy because all he said was fake news. But people don't even realize like that current situation. Like I don't think honestly Donald Trump was like a glitch in the political system. They didn't even expect the nigga to win. They didn't. And why did they not expect him to win? Because they thought he was stupid. But it was just like shit. If anything, Americans are stupid because Americans pretty much put that nigga in office or whatever. Like that's including the electoral college, like Jeff Bezos and all of them, because pretty much Donald Trump considered himself a celebrity. Like motherfuckers never put politics and Donald Trump in the same fucking category until he became president. And when he became president, that's when you see like dumbass motherfuckers like Kanye and all that shit talk about when they want to run for president because they were just like, oh, all you need is clout just to get this shit or whatever. But it was like he was a glitch. He was a glitch. And that's why they had to get him the fuck up out of there. That's why they had to get that nigga the fuck up out of there. And it's like it's going back even to the last election when Joe Biden won. Like Joe Biden made all these promises and all that shit to black people and even told you like you ain't black if you don't vote for him, but he ain't did not a goddamn thing for black people. If anything, America has took hella steps back since this motherfucker became president. Like it ain't no transparency with him. And the thing I give Donald Trump credit for was he was honest and upfront about a lot of shit or whatever. So it's like me, if a motherfucker racist, I'd rather them tell me to the. If a motherfucker racist, I'd rather them tell me to my face versus just saying shit behind my back. Because if you tell me to my face, then I know how to move around you. But if you just talking shit behind my back, Can't fuck with that. That's some cowardly shit. That's just some cowardly shit. Let's just be real with it. That's some cowardly shit. And that's why in a little while, it's gonna be reports coming out that the election Joe Biden did not win. He did not win that shit. He did not win that shit. It was the Jewish bankers using the media to control the narrative like they always do. That's why Donald Trump kept saying fake news even when he first got into office before the whole election shit took hold. The whole Joe Biden shit or whatever. And it was like a lot of people realized that shit and was calling it bullshit. A lot of people realized that shit and was calling that shit out, but the rest of the sheeple was like, oh no, Joe Biden won fair and square. Like, did you actually sit there and count the votes? Like, no, you didn't. Was you actually in there when the electoral college picked? No, you wasn't. You wasn't. But common sense shows the whole last presidential election was bullshit. It was. Or whatever. So like now it's like it's time for all that shit to start being exposed at this point in time. Or whatever. So pretty much the sky's gonna fall in on a lot of people, and a lot of people not gonna know how to take it. Like fake diseases, viruses, whatever the fuck you wanna call it. It's just constant deceit, deception, constant lies. All this shit is perpetrated by the Jewish people. The Jewish people. The Jewish motherfucking people. You could take my word for it or not, but before you discredit me, all this information is available online. So you do your own research or whatever. If y'all want to have discussions with me, I'm open to it and all that shit or whatever. It's just like I could even do a tarot pull on this shit for y'all or whatever. It's just like it's Jewish people. I'm telling y'all, the root to all the world's problems is Jewish people because they know how to hide the trail to get to them. The average person is not going to realize this shit or whatever. Like even now, the first card at the bottom is truth. Be honest with yourself and take accountability of the bullshit that's going on in the world. Because what I'm telling you right now is the absolute truth. We can even pull a random card off the deck and it's still just gonna confirm what I'm telling you is all the world's problems is it come from Jewish people. It comes from Jewish people. Emotional loss, like your problems come from Jewish people. Cause y'all don't want to stand up and take a stand against these motherfuckers. Y'all like just being sheeple. Sheeple. Sheep. And what's gonna happen when everybody starts standing up against these motherfuckers? Like this is what's gonna happen. A new beginning, a new chapter around the world. Like we can do this, y'all, but it's like people gotta start having accountability and just start acknowledging facts instead of opinions. Cause it's like if you can't acknowledge facts, then it's like fuck your emotions. Like I'm not finna lower myself to somebody else's emotional state because they don't want to accept the truth and have accountability about life and what the fuck is really going on or whatever. Like people who can't do that shit, heart chakra is in reverse, meaning they heart just fucked up. Their intention is fucked up. I don't know what to tell you. Like the people who can't do that shit is the ones who want to hold on to this society because they feel like their whole life is they gonna be suicidal pretty much is what this shit is saying because their life is dictated on money, currency, money, currency. So going forward, this is what everybody got to do. Understand your path in life and what you are meant here for, which is the crown chakra card. You got to realize you are always blessed and keep that perspective like lemons to lemonade. Every situation you going through ain't no coincidence. You going through it for a reason because life ain't shit but just light and darkness. You can't acknowledge one and deny the other one. You gotta learn how to have a balance with that shit, and that's the only way you going to get this crown chakra and maintain that blessed perspective about life and all the obstacles and challenges that come your way. So on that note, stay tuned for Word Origins Part 18, Astrology Episode 2. We're going to get more into depth in the next episode of how the Jewish people use astrology sundial for false flag events to play off of people's emotional energy. So, you all stay dangerous. I love y'all. Keep spreading that peace and magic, anti-magic. However, the goal of this shit is to help people obtain tranquility and serenity within themselves. Meaning, I'm trying to help y'all get to paradise. That's my purest intent. And why I do this shit is to help y'all. But I can't help you if you don't help yourself. So,